This is just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming at you with another video. And before I get started, I want to talk about what inspired me to do this video. Because a couple of nights ago, I had a dream that I was hearing a song in this dream, and it was an a cappella. And the dream was a gospel song, and it was talking about a morning train. And I never heard this song before. So I was just like, yeah, like I woke up from the dream. I was like, that's kind of weird that I was thinking about a acapella gospel song called Morning Train. And, you know, just out of curiosity, I typed it in YouTube. And lo and behold, I saw an actual song that was acapella. That was a gospel song called Morning Train. And it wasn't the exact same words, but it was close enough to where I was like, wow, how did I end up dreaming this? You know what I'm saying? Where I'm dreaming an actual song that I never heard before. And it kind of blew me away. Um, but I had a lot on my mind before this song, and I thought about a certain Bible scripture. I don't know exactly where it's set in the Bible, but I've read it many times and I've heard it throughout my life. And now I'm really starting to understand what the meaning behind this Bible verse is. And it basically was saying that men will become lovers of themselves. And growing up, and this is no attack on anybody when I say this, I'm just speaking about what it is that I heard growing up, who it is that I heard this growing up from, and how I'm starting to see that it's way more to the story than what people are realizing or want to realize. And when I was growing up, most people, especially the women in the community that I grew up in, they said that that Bible verse was about men turning to other men and being with them, when they said men would become lovers of themselves. And it was mostly focused on the so-called LBGT community. And like I said, I don't have any issues with that community. I'm not saying this to discriminate or disparage those people. I'm just stating what it is that I heard growing up. So, growing up, that's what I thought, that's what that meant. Like men to become lovers of themselves, that's what it meant. But now that I'm older and I see what's going on in society, I see that that passage is a lot deeper than what we, or at least I was taught growing up. Most of the people from my community was taught growing up. Now, I want you to think about what it is to be a lover of yourself. Now, right now we have this so-called gender war, which a lot of people are trying to end, including myself. Um, and you have men against the women, women against the men. Everybody has their complaints and criticisms. Men, from our point of view, it's like we think that we have never had an opportunity to have our side of the story heard. You had a lot of TV shows that came up during, especially during the 80s and the 90s, that where the women talked about how low down and dirty the men were, how unfaithful the men were, how deadbeat dads are running rampant. Like you have all these things that have been said to us, and then we get to the point to where you had certain YouTubers that used to be out that would call men bullet bags. And this is even men that's average hardworking men. We were being classified as being these same type of men. The only men that got any type of grace were men that were considered aesthetically pleasing, or that had just so much money that no matter what they do, they could do no wrong because they have a lot of money, and money equals success, especially if you have a lot of it. And so you had this going on in the community. And then you have a lot of so-called average men being left in the wayside, where it's hard for them to find companionship, like extremely hard for them to find companionship, to the point to where, they just say forget it. Either they go out and pay for companionship, or they take things into their own hands, if you know what I mean. And if you take things into your own hands, or if you're paying for companionship but you don't have any real connection to that person, aren't you becoming a lover of yourself? Or what's worse is if that man folds to the pressures of society and deal with a woman that he doesn't find attractive or appealing to him in any type of way, just because that's what's available, and he's being pressured by everybody to take that. He doesn't really want to be with that woman. He doesn't really love that woman. Isn't that being a lover of yourself as well? Just think about it. These are rhetorical questions that I'm asking. And I'm even asking myself, am I a lover of myself? Have I taken things into my own hands? You have men that's doing their best to try to overcome this situation, to where they're getting their passports and they think that if they go to another country, it's going to change. And I will say that I was fed that fantasy that, oh, you could find somebody and it's not going to be difficult. Even though I knew it was risky anyway, because I heard the stories of the druggings and the women playing the men. Like, I understood that. But when you're in a dire situation in the home front, you got to look to see if you can find something else elsewhere. And so I took that risk. um, I haven't been successful even when I ventured out, but then I understand that things like that happen. Like, I had a woman just this past trip. Like, I was keeping in contact with her for almost a year, and when we met up, her attitude towards me did a completely switch. She completely switched on me. Her mask fell off, and I saw what type of person she was, and I had to end it. Did it hurt my feelings? Yes, it did. Did I feel like a fool and played? Yeah, I did, but I was also smart enough to get away from that situation instead of trying to keep it going, even though I knew it was bad. And then I'm also hearing things about other parts of the world where the women are starting to become more and more in the way that I've just described. But then it's another phenomenon that's going on, where in the Bible it talks about seven women coming to one man begging for him to take their shame away. And that's happening now. It's not happening in a way that we are understanding of how it's happening, but say for instance you're a multimillionaire or a billionaire. You have women constantly throwing themselves at you on a daily basis because they want to take the shame of poverty away. And they'll use their beauty, they'll use their desperation, they'll just sacrifice who it is that they are just to have a chance with you, in order to have that tether to you. And they'll use being pregnant by you and having a child by you in order to tether themselves to you so they can live a certain lifestyle. We see that happening. But say, for instance, things got worse in society, where the so-called average man finally gets to that point to where that's happening to him. It's not going to be in the way that he thinks. He's only going to have those seven women, the type of women that he's not desiring. Because no matter what people say, we are not trying to break out of the mode that's in our heads, and we have been programmed to be the way that we are. Like, I remember when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, and adult films or porn, it wasn't readily accessible when I was growing up. um, and I remember when I finally got to the age to where I could actually purchase magazines, if you know what I mean. Like, I remember having to catch the bus and go way out to the newsstand. When I got to the newsstand, I was able to purchase a couple of magazines, and it had to be put in brown paper bags so it wouldn't be obscene to anybody else. But now we have free access to it through the internet, and it's there, it's free. Anybody, even children, can be exposed to this. And then I think about the evolution of it, because when I was coming up, like you had VHS tapes that was hard to get to, and then it switched over to DVDs. And once the DVDs hit, then we were getting exposed to different cultures and people, and all types of stuff was happening. And now you can just pull it up on the internet for free. And they still have OnlyFans, where you have those that's like, man, even though I'm looking at these movies, I still want some type of form of companionship because I'm so lonely and nobody won't even look at me. And so they go to these OnlyFans so they can have that interaction with somebody that they yearn for and crave for, and that fit the aesthetics of what it is that they want. And that's happening a lot on both sides, the both men and the women's sides. And you have men who are willing to take the average woman, but that average woman isn't looking for him. That average woman is trying to get to the highest of the highs. And they expect that average man to take the lowest of the lows along with the so called dusties or the bullet bags. And they lump the average man with the lowest common denominator of men, the lazy men, because they don't want to acknowledge that man rising up from poverty, if that's where he came from, or if he did the best that he could and he had some failures in his ventures, but he's still holding on and he's still maintaining, he's still surviving. They don't want to see that hard work that man has put himself through. They want to keep him at a lower level. Even if that so-called average man become a six-figure salary earner, they want to beat him down so much to where he won't even think that he has a chance of getting the so-called average woman. He's supposed to, no matter how successful he gets, no matter what he accomplishes in his life, he's supposed to settle for whatever it is that everybody tells him he's supposed to settle for. And I'm not saying every man goes through this, but a lot of men go through this. A lot of average men go through this. And so having that psychological trauma done to you for so many years or so long, and you starting to see what's going on in the world as a whole, you like, why am I even going to deal with these women? We have 50% of the so-called black men that are single and childless. Now, they want you to take care of these women that have children already, but these women don't respect these men, and these women don't want to listen to these men, and these women want this man to spend all his money and resources on her and her children while treating him like he's a third class citizen in that household. It doesn't make sense. So, what are men doing? Because they see what's going on, they're becoming lovers of themselves, which is a bad thing. But it's a sign of the times that we are living in currently. And I'm starting to see this. Other people are starting to see this. And possibly there's no way to really fix it until the Most High fixes it. I mean, and it's just something I wanted to point out. I'm still going to do my best to find that certain person that I'm supposed to be with that's compatible with me, not something that I'm forcing to be compatible or she's forcing to be compatible, where it's actually compatible for both of us to be together. And if I don't find it, oh well. I will just have to understand that I'm probably going to be considered a lover of myself and to be All these other labels that people want to throw on men that's like this, like narcissists, or oh, he thinks he's better than what he really is, or he's shallow, because he won't give a person that's not of his liking a chance, even though he's probably done it many times in his life. And I'm not saying that women haven't done this, but it's different when a man doesn't feel fulfilled or satisfied with his life. We're supposed to be fixers, so we're going to try to do something in order to fill that void. And if women are doing it, what do you think men are going to do? And this isn't shade on anybody. This isn't to put anybody down. This is just an observation that I have. And with that being said, this is just Bob Bowman. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Hey, I'm open to taking some topics, some opinions, whatever suggestions that you have for me. I'm not going to spend a lot of money on new technology because this is just me expressing myself. With that being said, I'm out.